Hello, YouTubers. Joe Kersey here on Wednesday, the 15th of April, 2015. Tax Day here in the United States, and it's about 16:20 in the afternoon Eastern Daylight Time. Now, I'm doing this based on an idea that was given to me. I was urged to do this by a YouTuber named Danny Short. Danny Short. And I urge you to look at his material. But he suggested that, and this is a bit of a thing about a certain amount of things that were going around on YouTube some months ago. About, you write letters to your former self, from the future. And I thought, well, the way I would want to do that would be, and he suggested I do this. So this one's for you, Danny Short. That I would write a series of letters that would be opened after each discussion point. The younger Joe goes through a thing that gets a letter from the future, and then the younger Joe progresses and then gets a letter from the future, and so forth. And so I thought, that's what I do. I take it up to not quite. I don't take it up to the present time, but we can always extend this concept later if we wish. Herewith, video idea from Danny Short. This is intended to be a series of letters to my younger self that are to be opened after each discussion point. Some of this has been referenced in my August autobiography series from 2014, and it has been. And if you've, not to pimp for my own material, but if you haven't looked at my August autobiographies from 2014, yeah, it's well worth a look. Sure. Letter number 1. When I was 14, my dad walked in on Mark and me while he was sleeping over at my house. In quotes. I was sucking his dick, and he had just come in my mouth. My dad said nothing then and said nothing later. I wish Mark hadn't laughed so loud when I sucked his nipples. Maybe my dad would not have come in to check on us at 2 a.m. He had this nice ring of hair on his nipples. He was one of these guys that turned hairy very early on. Letter. Dear 14-year-old Joe, that sure might have made things tense. Any tenseness came from you being terrified. It turns out you did not need to have been, but it was not an unreasonable reaction to the situation. The shame of it all was that you decided Mark was, quote, too flitty acting, unquote. And you started to act like all the others, straight, and I spell straight, S-T-R-A-T-E. Straight, S-T-R-A-T-E. Assholes. I know you will feel really horrible about that behavior toward a guy you loved then and still love up until this day. I know you don't do the faggy, gay jokes and behavior anymore, but you were then and continue to be all the way up to college simply a mean asshole. You will regret it. Boy, I do. Period. You will regret it. Who knows what hurt we sow as we move unthinkingly through life, and unfeelingly too. But perhaps more of that in a later letter. I don't think it's going to be in this series. It might be in the next second series after this. Letter number 2. When I was 15 and 16 and 17, I fell in love or lust with a number of guys. One was in my Explorer post, and one was a fellow I truly and deeply... I need to edit that. One was a fellow I was truly and deeply am in love with. But alas, both of them were, and the second one I know for a fact is straight, with my favorite spelling, S-T-R-A-T-E. Letter in reply. Dear Teenage Jack, there sure are a lot of great guys around that you spend your time with. You think they accept and like you because of your sarcastic humor and smarts and cleverness and willingness to not be so straight-laced and uptight about things, straight properly spelled. Although they might expect that you would be, given your background. The fact of the matter is they are oblivious to your desire for them. That, of course, is part of the advantage for you. You are living as a deep cover spy. Bob paid no attention to you when you threw your leg over his on the camp out. Another guy didn't think twice when we drove back from a state park swimming outing in our wet underwear and you had a hard time keeping your eyes on the road. The other fellow didn't know that you sucked his cum out of the bed sheets after he belly hump-fucked the mattress after he went out to take a leak when you were visiting my sister. You stew about things too much. I know you can't help it. You wish you could connect with another guy and be open and honest. But the late 1960s in the United States is not the time to be openly gay. Stonewall has not happened yet. Letter number 3. When I was in college, I decided to try to go out on a date. What a fucking joke. When I was in college, I decided to try to go out on a date. I asked a girl from one of my chemistry-associated activities to go out with me. I believe we went out to the C&G and had a pitcher of beer and some pizza. What a fart. I awkwardly walked her back to Lincoln Tower. And then there was this long pause. Oh, this is so awful. In which I was deciding whether to do the obligatory goodnight kiss. Oh, please give me a break. I already knew I was gay. Why did I subject this other very decent, pleasant human being to this humiliating experience? And that's the thing. It was like, why would I humiliate? Why did I engage in an activity that humiliated this young woman? It's terrible. It's terrible. I feel bad about that to this day. Dear undergraduate of Ohio State Joe, that's the answering letter. Let's not forget the format here. The above speaks for itself. Was this some sort of test for yourself? You did go all out. Now check this one out. You even bought a red light bulb in case you came back to your dorm room, which, thanks be the Almighty, she did not want to do. Sometimes you could be a parody of yourself. Okay. By the way, here comes Paul, I think. By the way, you will keep being a parody of yourself off and on until until you are 63. In any case, you had a good sense not to do that again. Letter number 4. Or did you? Go back and run that real fast and and then go up to, or did you? And this is where it gets a bit dicey. Because if I follow this chain of reasoning down to its logical conclusion, my son and grandson would not exist. When you were in medical school, you wanted to stay friends with some of the faculty who had taught you. And it turned out that you became, meaning you, meaning me, read me, and any of this stuff. That you became sexually involved with your former freshman English instructor, and she had Thomas, your son. Dear medical school Joe, just trying to survive. You will be very surprised when this woman gets pregnant on your very first shot into the bucket, which would not have happened if it had not been for the thoracic surgery resident children's treating you like a moron and berating you and running you into the ground on your first day on the service, the 2nd of November, 1973. And making you feel completely adrift, and you needing some human connection, and you being 21, and if someone pushes the buttons on a 21-year-old guy, the stuff starts to work, and even if you're gay, that you will be, and you would then too, extremely glad when she does not heed the advice of the kill the baby abortion babes that surrounded her at her workplace, and go ahead and kill the baby. There will be some inevitable problems, how and or if to tell your parents, how to get your last name on the birth certificate as the father, and eventually the question of marriage, which she will resist and perhaps you should have listened to, but that objection to which you should have listened to. But that will be up in the air in your mind for the next 40 years, so deal with it. Letter number 5. Having a child out of wedlock was not your only problem in medical school. I seem to have mislaid things. These things happen. Dear despairing medical school Joe. Oh, good Lord. It gets worse and worse, doesn't it? Dear despairing medical school Joe. Now, wait a minute. Now, so here I am, I'm dropping stuff. And, if you listen over to the side, this is what I have to live with. So think about it, guys. Dear despairing medical school Joe, at a certain point you will have realized that this way of life, the endless hours, the no time for yourself, the deadly dull, but at the same time interesting material, especially anatomy and pharmacology and the surgical stuff, atmosphere of having to be always at peak form will not stop. Not to mention the night work. You were on the King Avenue Bridge over the Olentangy River and had been for one of your 6-mile runs. Those will kill your knees and ankles. but give you a superb cardiovascular reserve despite your intrinsic cardiovascular disease. By the way, it all of a sudden hits you. What? I just said you will stop and stare into the river. No, it's not a suicide thing. That will come later. And wonder if you should stop, because then would have been the logical break point. Cut your losses and try to do what you really wanted to do. Teach history or practice law. But no. You know that you can do this and do it reasonably well and make a decent living at it. And if you save like mad, you won't have to do it that long. Won't have to do it that long. Letter number 6. You soldiered through and finished medical school and some surgery and anesthesia training, and after a short stint on the university faculty, the new anesthesia chairman exiled everybody actually, and you moved to Fort Wayne, Indiana, a town you would gladly live nearby now, but then you thought it was the devil's armpit, despite the fact hairy armpits are a huge turn-on for you. You were in practice as a member of a group for a year. And then after your contract ran out, went off on your own and had a number of surgeons that would have gladly scheduled their cases with you. And there were a number of them that really did like having me do their. Yes, I could have made a go of it up there. But by that time, you were in deep despair about the fact you could not openly live as a gay man. And yes, I was. Yes, I was. You were 27. While carrying on with the plan of an independent practice, you buy a Smith & Wesson 357 Magnum highway patrol model, the K-frame, the big frame. And plan to use it to kill yourself. At some point, as well as for self-defense, of course, which came into play when we moved down to Columbus, and this creep tried to break in through the bedroom window of my wife's bedroom when I was there, and I went over and I pulled out this gun, and she said, "Oh, I'm so glad you had this gun." Of course, she was one of the people that hated guns. "Oh, I'm so glad you had this gun." Anyway, without getting becalmed. Dear despairing, working for yourself, Joe. This is the letter that follows, given the format we're following. Did you forget the format? Dear despairing, working for yourself, Joe. God will intervene in the form of C. Merle Welch. God bless Merle. A fellow who helped train you and get you a job back in Columbus, and it turns out you will not have to kill yourself after all. Thank you, God. Because it will also turn out that you can come out, get divorced, move out, have gay sex, meet Paul, and be yourself. Let's run through that list again. And it turns out you will, one, not have to kill yourself after all, because it will also turn out that you can come out, get divorced, move out, have gay sex, meet Paul, be yourself. It only takes 28 years. Simple, huh? Just me being sarcastic again. As you know now from watching YouTube videos, oh, by the way, you'll become a YouTuber after you get your very first computer in late 2012. There are a lot of younger guys out there who go through the same internal emotional turmoil despite the massively more accepting atmosphere out there. That's the really important thing to think about. it's no more easier for them than it was for you. It might just happen a bit earlier, and I think it does happen a bit earlier for them. And therefore not leave so much roadkill in their wake, because, you know, you're doing all this stuff being straight and so forth. And perhaps in a less messy way. But there are still guys that are going to be kicked out. You will be disinherited. Such are the ways of human beings, huh? Letter number 7. No letter here. You spent 34 and a half years with Paul, and despite the fact the sex has dwindled to none. Well, that's a problem. Yeah. But despite that fact, many guys have a lot worse. And you don't have to slog it out every day, going down the highway. Thanks be to God. Many thanks to Denny Short for giving me the nudge to do this project. And I wrote the bulk of this on the 28th of March, 2015, but I've obviously done a little bit of editing here today before I put it up. So, God bless you, YouTubers, huh? Yes, indeed. Bye-bye, YouTube. And watch Danny Short's channel. Danny, as it sounds, D-A-N-N-Y, Short, S-H-O-R-T, Danny Short's channel. Watch it.